think that perhaps, what you were, speaking to earlier in terms of the regional government that we had then and how productive every region was what the president was trying to do by putting derivation at 50%, where to force, the governors to go back to their state and think of IGR.
Exactly. I've heard this argument. People say, Lagos is standing at advantage because Lagos has seaport, Lagos has a port, and Lagos has everything. And they cited the fact that there is a deep sea port coming, another one coming up in Badagry. Now, I expect these governors, they have governors forum that is very, very powerful. I come from the southeast. And the southeast is one region. Remember that the old eastern region was the fastest growing in the Commonwealth. And the whole things that made it there are still there. I was looking through the gas reserve of Nigeria. Nigeria has a gas reserve of over $1.4 trillion untapped. And most of this gas reserve sits in the southeast of Nigeria. Nigeria today has a coal reserve proven of over $302 billion. And most of these coal reserves are in the east and the Kogi axis. I expect the Governors Forum, Southeast Governors Forum, the National Assembly had amended the Constitution in such a way that things like rail is now on the concurrent list. If Akwa Ibom is doing deep sea port, Lagos is doing, what stopped the Southeast Governors Forum coming together? The other day, the governor of Imo State said he wanted to dredge to Orashi, which is good. You can do a mini seaport. If you think the advantage Lagos is that they have a seaport, you can sit down with the president and those in charge. What do we do to make One or Calabar Port or Akwa Ibom Port to be as competitive as Lagos? What do we put together to make sure that we dredge from the Atlantic into Orashi? It will take about $150 million to do that.
Or even push
even if you want
our mining resources to be taken off the exclusive list.
I am coming. Exactly, you push for it. Do you know that if the Southeast governors, today now, if you clear a container in Lagos to take it to the Southeast, it's about 6 million naira on the road. If these governors are truly altruistic, if these governors are creative and thinking like the likes of Jokonde, Simon Bakwe, and Michael Obara, what they should be pushing under the aegis of the Southeast Governors Forum or Southeast Development Commission, set up an SPV. Each of them will take 5%. Get a private sector investor. In fact, interestingly, one of the biggest dredgers in Nigeria are owned by an Igbo man, Nest Oil. He bought the Global dredgers. They can go into a private-public partnership arrangement, dredge into Orashi, get the licenses, do a deep sea, a seaport, even if it's a mini port, so that vessels can come into the southeast. And which is something they should be thinking. On the issue of rail, the most lucrative rail route in Nigeria is the Lagos, Shagamu, Ore, Ijebode, Asaba, Benin, Onitsha, Owerri, Port Harcourt, Seko Bakaba, Umuahia, Okigwe, Enugu, back to Abakaliki and Afibo. Then it's 817-kilometer corridor that will take $5.2 billion to do. $1.3 billion equity contribution and the rest 25-year debt funding. If the Southeast governors today decide to work with the Southwest governors and the South-South governors, 11 states, they can set up an SPV. In 5 years, we will do that corridor. It's a corridor that has 200 million ton cargo traffic every year. It's a corridor that has 300 to 500 million passenger traffic every year. It's a corridor that can pay back investors in 7 years, under a DBOT for 45 years. You sit down with the president and negotiate and discuss this. But interestingly, we are so saddled, unfortunately, with those that are the constituent units, who unfortunately control 40% of resources, who are not thinking internally. The coal resources in the southeast, the gas in the southeast, if we have governors who are thinking, they have governors forum, they can sit down with knowledgeable private sector players. How do we tap into this latter? Let me tell you something. VAT is actually a derivative of consumption. If you create enabling environment for companies to establish in your area, for business to come to your area, you will generate a lot of VAT, and then you will share better. But the problem we have is that these governors are only thinking about what they can get from Niger.
Whether it is a derivative of consumption or whether it's a derivative